Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat of Virginia. He serves on the Foreign Relations Committee, and he joins me now. Senator, it is a little odd to watch this back and forth and the debate over Catholic teaching on just war theory and theology, but it strikes me as that the reason that he's angry is that people know that the war is unpopular and don't like it.
Chris, this war is deeply unpopular, and of course it is. You go into a war with no rationale, with no plan, no work to get allies on board, no consultation with Congress, certainly not a vote by Congress. And guess what? It doesn't work out well, and the American people really hate this war. I represent Virginia, a very pro-military state, but a lot of folks in my state have sons, daughters, and spouses deployed right now or worried that they will be deployed, and they're asking questions like, what is this for? Have we learned nothing from 25 years of unproductive war in the Middle East? So yes, Donald Trump is lashing out at everybody he can, but the bottom line is he has blundered this nation into a war of choice after tearing up a diplomatic deal that was working, and American troops are dying and others are suffering as a result.
You were raised, as I was, in the Catholic Church and the faith, and I think formed by Catholic social teaching. I know your biography
very much
well, and as I was. I personally have found it heartening to watch the Holy Father talk about war and peace in these terms. How have you felt about it?
I felt the same way. I remember how heartened I felt when Pope Francis spoke to Congress and challenged us. But this Pope is doing nothing but bringing up basic gospel teaching during the Easter season. You know, we're supposed to try to beat swords into plowshares, not the reverse. Donald Trump took a diplomatic deal that was working in his first term and tore it up. We told him, if you do that, if you make diplomacy impossible, you will make war inevitable. But obviously, Donald Trump prefers war to diplomacy. He has uniquely, among nations of the world, decided to rebrand our Department of Defense a Department of War. No other nation in the world does this, Chris. Brazil was the last nation that had a Minister of War. They changed it to a Minister of Defense in 1999. It's a Ministry of Defense in Russia. It's a Ministry of Defense in North Korea. It's a Ministry of Defense in Iran. It's a Ministry of Defense in China. Point. Only one nation beats its chest and cosplays as a Secretary or Department of War. Of course, the legal title is Department of Defense. And then they brag about ignoring stupid rules of engagement. It will be death from above. We'll bomb you to the end of your civilization. This is a fake tough guy who's pounding his chest. But I'll tell you this, he's a lightweight in the ring against Pope Leo when it comes to moral authority, and American Catholics and others who respect this Pope aren't taken kindly to the Jesus cosplay that he's doing now.
As Democrats have tried to inject some kind of accountability or some sort of brakes and stall to this, and again, we're in a sort of strange period right now where there's the ceasefire, but everything's unresolved. There were 3 votes today. There was yet another War Powers Resolution vote that got every Democratic vote, save John Fetterman, and got Rand Paul. There was a vote to block funding for Israel, I believe, for bulldozers, which I think got 40 votes, if I'm not mistaken, and
yes.
one to stop 1,000-pound bombs being sold. These are sales the Trump administration wants to put through that I believe got 37 votes, all of them Democrats. What
yes.
does it say to you about the Democratic Party and caucus that these votes are getting an overwhelming, if not almost unanimous support from your caucus?
Well, so first on the War Powers resolutions, again, with the exception of Senator Fetterman, every member of the Democratic caucus says we shouldn't be at war without a vote of Congress, and this is an unwise and illegal war. We are very unified about it, and we are forcing votes every week to stop this war, or at least make plain to the American public who's behind it. We have not yet gotten Republicans to join us, other than Rand Paul, who's been very consistent in opposing this war. But we believe the escalating death toll, 13 troops, hundreds injured, thousands of civilians injured, together with the massive cost, the increase in gasoline prices. We're going to keep forcing this vote every week, and we do believe we'll get more Republicans. On the Israel arms transfers, Chris, the first time we did this was in November of 2024. In February of that year, I sent a letter to President Biden and said, we should continue to provide Israel with defensive support so they can protect civilians from threat, but no more offensive weapons, because those offensive weapons are killing civilians in Gaza, in Lebanon now, and in other locations. Let's reduce civilian deaths. That first vote in November of 2024, we got 17 votes. We did some other votes and we were in the 20s. Today we got to 40 votes. That shows an increasing belief that more offensive weapons from the United States poured into the Middle East is just adding gasoline onto a fire. And adding more civilian deaths is not going to solve this. And I think that's the spirit out of which the Pope is speaking to all of us. Let's stop the civilian suffering, not make it worse.
Yeah, there's a sort of through line there, the sort of distinction between defensive self-defense and offensive war, which is a pretty important one, both in Catholic teaching and generally. Senator Tim Kaine, thank you so much.
Absolutely.